Dr. Kahn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And sorry, I'm kind of hiding outdoors on a beautiful day in southern Florida, but I can't go inside. It's too pretty.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. Really excited about this. Uh, I'm very curious myself. What is the story that got you into all this in the first place? Like, what is the spark that wanted you to help people in terms of cardiovascular health?
Yeah, if you want the backstory quick, really, I was born with a heart murmur. My pediatrician apparently heard it. My mother, got very worried. I started seeing a pediatric cardiologist before I was 1 years old. And I ended up actually having a heart catheterization when I was nine months old. I don't remember that. But I started seeing a pediatric cardiologist. Now, the good news is nothing ever happened. Whatever little noise was there closed down. I think I'm going to have barbecue dog in a minute if my dog doesn't quiet down. But she's a good dog. Must see an iguana. But I got interested in cardiology as a kid. I liked my pediatric cardiologist. And if you would have asked me at age 10, what was I going to grow up to be? No doctors in the family. It was a cardiologist. I ended up favoring adult cardiology compared to pediatric cardiology, though that's a good schedule too. And the second part quickly, as I went to Ann Arbor at age 18, they had an interesting program back then at the University of Michigan where you got into med school at age 18. So I was already studying anatomy and other stuff. And I didn't like the food in the dorm. I wasn't picky. I was following Jewish dietary laws. So I became vegan, vegetarian vegan, but quickly vegan by age 18. And pretty quickly, those two got together because I learned in med school a little about nutrition. I was eating salad bar. It took a little while for people like John Robbins, Neil Barnard, Dr. Dean Ornish to get in my life, but I realized that this stuff all made sense. It was a strange little combination of all the planets aligning that I became a plant-based human before I became a plant-based cardiologist, but I've never been anything other than a plant-based cardiologist, and just turned out that's what the science says is what we all ought to do, but not everybody does.
Yeah, man, it's an awesome story. It's good to hear that. So, as you know, like, there's a lot of cardiovascular issues these days. Let's start from the beginning. Like, what is the purpose of the heart, and why do you think that so many people are having issues these days from it?
Well, the biggest two issues of heart are number one, high blood pressure, very common, gotten more common worldwide. It's the number one cause of death in the world, just confirmed again in Australia, but it's true in any country that studies it. Because high blood pressure leads to clogging of your arteries, strokes, congestive heart failure, loss of your legs, loss of your sexual health. So the message there is everybody buy a home blood pressure cuff. When you put on your arm, you hit a button, there's a number, 45 seconds later. If you have a thermometer, if you have a scale, you should have a home blood pressure cuff. And the other major disease out there is coronary artery disease or clogged arteries. So the heart has to pump. Now, if the blood pressure is high, it's harder for the heart to pump, which is the trouble you get into. And if the heart's pumping against high blood pressure, it actually can damage the arteries more. So that's one part. The other is to maintain the heart pumping 100,000 times a day. There's generally three little arteries called heart arteries or coronary arteries. And unfortunately for us, not all animals, but humans, it's easy to clog up your heart arteries starting at age 18, 25, 32. And it's a long, steady process without any warning, without any clues till it's very advanced. And that's why you hear people dropping dead, people having heart attacks. That stuff's been going on for years. So that's there's other parts of the heart. We could talk about heart valves and electrical part. But if we just focus on lifestyle for blood pressure control, and again, get a home blood pressure cuff. If we could just focus on keeping your arteries clean, which it's not inevitable, but it's very common to clog your arteries up starting at a very young age, even your age. You
Yeah,
gotta work on it.
very interesting. Yeah. So, being in the field and working with all these people that you do, I'm curious from your perspective, why are we seeing the numbers climb every year for heart disease? Like, what is
Yeah,
the conventional model not understanding?
yeah. And there are more cases of high blood pressure. There are more cases of heart disease. The overall lifespan in the United States was going up. Now it's starting to go down a little. Clearly it's a whole combination. Our food quality has been poor and getting worse for 50 years. The middle of the grocery store, everything in a box, everything frozen, everything out the carry out window. People are busy. People are, flavor oriented. They forgot how to chop vegetables and cook and make soup. And mom's busy, dad's busy, grandma's busy, everybody's busy. So we have big corporate America make our food. We're paying a terrible price. Not enough fiber, too much salt, too many animal foods, not enough fresh fruits and vegetables. Our sleep has been interrupted. We're not sleeping as well. Maybe that's Wi-Fi, cell phones, internet, Netflix, TikTok, Instagram. Who knows? We're distracted. We're entertained 24 hours a day. Didn't used to be the case. I grew up actually around 10 p.m. All the TVs went off. There wasn't any, programming after 10 p.m. So you couldn't turn on the late night movie. Our jobs have gotten more sedentary. Of course, there are exceptions, but we're working from now our laptop and our desk, and there's less people involved in agriculture, and the robotics have replaced that job. So we're just more sedentary. Chemicals probably are a factor. There's no doubt air pollution is now a major factor in heart disease, trigger strokes, trigger heart attack. Air quality matters. But all those plastics, those chemicals, there's names: bisphenol A, bisphenol B, BPA, BPS, PCBs, phthalates, the one called PFAS, the forever chemical. And these sound like, oh my God, there's just too much there. But all you can do is try and live your cleanest life, read labels, cook simple food, get a standing desk, get a treadmill desk, go to the gym, take a walk, get a dog, walk your dog, even if your dog barks during podcasts. Dog walkers get more steps in a day, and really be careful about plastic bottles. You won't see me drinking out of, a Costco plastic bottle container. You just won't do it. I mean, just little baby steps to protect your health. And you got to measure. You got to do the labs. Don't assume you're healthy. Even if you're 25, don't assume you're healthy. Might have big time blood sugar, inflammation, blood pressure, cholesterol, vitamin deficiencies.
Yeah, those are some great points. Like these are things that we just don't think about in terms of health because it's all about like mastering the basics, as you said. It's kind of like these foundational practices. It's not just as we do these things, it's just to one organ, like the heart, but it's actually like holistic health in all terms. So I really like those points there. So back to let's talk about can we talk about statins real quick? Like do these have a place in terms of uh cardiovascular disease and treatment, or is it kind of like a billion dollar industry that's not doing much uh, work in terms of the people?
And I missed one word. What was the question about scans?
Statins.
Oh, statins. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, statins are, a conversation down the road. If you find out that your arteries are getting damaged, and maybe we should talk for 2 seconds. How would you find out? A little harder when you're 25. How old are you?
26.
Okay, so I'm guessing pretty close. A little easier when you're 46, but if you find out your labs are off, and if you find out your arteries are getting damaged, you should work to correct everything that's instigating the problem. Improve your diet, get more fitness, get better sleep, clean up, your plastics and your chemical exposure, drop the weight, check your blood pressure. You got to do all that. Statins are part of that formula for some people. There's very little data that if your arteries are clean or pretty darn clean, you should focus on lifestyle and maybe supplements. But let me just tell you, so if you're 40, you might consider a CT scan called a heart artery calcium CT scan. Most hospitals will do this with a doctor's prescription for about $75. It's about a 5-second CT scan that will tell you, I got a 0 result. My arteries seem to be pretty clean. Good news. And that test has been around for years and years. It used to be a lot more expensive. It's very inexpensive now. And there's essentially no data that you need statins if you go to the bother of getting your heart arteries checked, like we might check a mammogram, a colonoscopy, as you get a little older, your prostate health and all. Check your heart health. It's called a coronary artery calcium scan. But at 26, you don't do that. You could get an ultrasound of your carotid arteries at age 26 because there's no radiation. There is a company called Lifeline Screening. I'm not recommending you go do that. It's not very expensive, but not a lot of science to do that at age 26. So the only people at age 26 that might consider statins is about one person in 250 inherits a super high cholesterol level genetically. So what you should do at age 26 is get a good lab panel. And you might have a primary care doctor do it for you. But there are companies now where you can order a lab panel on your own and pay cash. One company, and they're not mine, is called lifeextension.com. One company is called lifeforce.com. And one company is called functionhealth.com. And you can get a crazy number of labs and get a clue when you're 26. How messed up are some genetics and inflammation and blood sugar? So, don't live in a bubble where you have no clue what's going on. Maybe you like your ramen and you like your fried chicken and you like your pepperoni pizza. Figure out how that's all working for you when you're 26 years old. So statins come into play. More science says you've had a heart attack, you've had a bypass, you've had a stent, you've had one of these tests at age 45, 50 that shows your arteries are going to hell. You better fix your numbers, and statins can be part of it, but they're only part of it. Lifestyle is still the king. Gym time, sleep time, food time, blood test time, correcting those, get your waistline down, eat more fiber, eat more plants, eat less animal foods or no animal foods.
Yeah, those are some great points there. Absolutely. So let's talk about blood pressure real quick because there's a lot of issues with this. Of course, it ties into heart disease and all that. So, what are some things that you see that are causing high blood pressure, and what are some simple things that we can do today to just kind of balance this out?
So, everything has a potential genetic cause, and clearly, blood pressure is genetic. You can ask, Mom, Dad, are you on blood pressure medicine? Grandma, Grandpa, brother, sister. But that doesn't prove it's genetic because they all might be eating an American, a Southern, a high fat, a high salt diet, added sugar, overweight, poor sleep. So, it's hard to prove it's genetic. And it's difficult to get blood tests to prove blood pressure is genetic. Clearly, excess dietary salt. And if you're eating in a lot of fast food restaurants or even better restaurants, if you're doing a lot of carry out, you're eating a lot of salt. If you're eating a lot of frozen foods, a lot of chicken, a lot of store-bought bread, you're eating a lot of salt because that's where they put these things in. So you got to think about that. If you're not getting any exercise, your blood pressure is going to go up. If you're snoring at night, your blood pressure is going to go up. If you've gained 15 pounds during the pandemic, your blood pressure is going to go up. So, and the antidote to blood pressure are fresh whole foods, fruits and vegetables, beans, peas, lentils, whole grains. Mediterranean diet is a good diet. Olive oil is a good choice over butter. So it, again, goes back to lifestyle. Now, when I get a chance to run blood work on a 26-year-old once in a while, even though I'm more of an adult cardiologist where you're going to see 46, 56, 66. Or if I have 26-year-olds that go to one of those three websites I just mentioned, and they pay and get their own panel of blood work, a lot of you 26-year-olds are deficient in vitamin D, like David. A lot of you are deficient in omega-3, like ground flaxseed, chia seeds, hemp hearts, walnuts, maybe salmon and sardines. And a lot of people are low in omega-3. And when you're low in omega-3, your blood pressure goes up. So you can do the blood test, or you can just say, I'm going to be the weirdest 26-year-old. I'm going to have 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed every day on my yogurt, on my smoothie, and my oatmeal, on my salad, and get some natural omega-3 in your body. That'll all help.
That makes sense for sure. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of afraid of cholesterol these days. So is this something that we should be afraid of? Is there something that we don't understand? Uh,
Yeah. So there's no doubt. Well, a couple things. You need cholesterol, you know, but in some people, probably a combination of lifestyle and genetics, the cholesterol in their blood harms their arteries, could be starting at age 18, 15, 25. We've got the LDL cholesterol. You should know your LDL cholesterol. 1 in 250 people inherit a very high level. Now, if you get one of those advanced lab panels I mentioned, they're also going to check a second cholesterol that 1 out of every 4 people inherit. That's common. That's called, it's a long name, lipoprotein A, Lipoproteina. And in my world, every 26-year-old would know if they inherited from one or both parents lipoprotein A because it's in the blood. If you didn't inherit it, it's not in the blood. If you inherit it, it's in the blood, and it can hurt your arteries. So you need enough cholesterol to run your body. Most of the data is a total cholesterol of 90, 100, 110 is enough to feed your body what it needs. So if your cholesterol is 200, 250, 300, 350, you got more of it in your blood than you need, and it might or might not screw you up at age 26, 36, 46, but you do the proper testing, you'll be okay. And the flip side is healthy foods bring your cholesterol back down to the level that's more compatible with good health. Oatmeal, fruits and vegetables, beans, peas, and lentils, making your own food instead of store-bought food. You can drop your cholesterol a lot just by saving some money in restaurants, bringing your lunch to work, and cooking your own meals. Learn how to make a great bean soup or a bean chili or a lentil soup. Learn how to make oatmeal. Maybe learn how to bake a bread on your own or get a good whole grain bread at the store. You'll be on your way.
Definitely. And there's a way that cholesterol can get oxidized and become damaged. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been data. It's not 100% certain data. Some people will say the only really risky cholesterol is LDL oxidized cholesterol. And there is a blood test. There is a famous researcher in cholesterol, Dr. Daniel Steinberg, of blessed memory. He passed away a couple of years ago at a very advanced age. And his main career was how uh, oxidized LDL cholesterol was more dangerous. But there's plenty of data that just regular old LDL cholesterol, we don't have to start ordering oxidized LDL in everybody. Now, if you just want to play it safe, eat a lot of antioxidants. We're back to fruit and vegetables. We're back to brightly colored foods. You have some purple cabbage and some white cauliflower and some oranges and some green arugula and some black beans and some red kidney beans and strawberries. And you do that, you'll be in good shape.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
let's talk about, in terms of heart health, what are the main practices? They say nutrition. If you want to talk about that, exercise. Like, what should we be avoiding to maintain a healthy heart?
Well, avoiding sedentary life, avoiding skipping sleep is a priority, avoiding fiber rich foods. I don't care that you don't like fruits and vegetables, you got to eat them. You got to eat beans, peas, lentils, you got to eat whole grains. There's a lot of nonsense about how lentils are dangerous or whole grains are dangerous. Couldn't be further from the truth. You got to avoid alcohol abuse. You got to avoid smoking.
Yep.
And run the tests. I've said it before. I use a hashtag on social media. All you people who follow me on social media, Instagram, DRJKAHN, Dr. J Kahn on Instagram. I put out good stuff every day, all over the place. LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook too. I got a weekly podcast, Heart Doc VIP. If you really want to stay up to date, 25 minutes a week, Heart Doc VIP, iTunes and Spotify. It's all free, of course, just education. But so you got to avoid damaging your body. You can't turn back once it's damaged. There's a statement: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's easier to prevent disease than reverse disease. And God, if you're 26, you have this amazing opportunity to learn a bit about how to really keep your body healthy. And don't assume, I'll wait till I'm 35 and then I'll fix things. May have screwed things up by then.
Correct. Yeah. So, what is your? I know you talk about a lot of this in your books, but what is your overall nutrition philosophy for overall health and, of course, aimed towards the heart?
Well, my nutrition philosophy is strongly whole food, plant based diets, 90 to 100%. A lot of home cooking, bright colors, low salt. I'm a fan of olive oil. Some doctors don't talk kindly about olive oil. I'm a fan of avocados, nuts, seeds, ground flaxseed we talked about. Close to nature. So it's my food philosophy because that's what the science says. And if you want to just pick one thing, learn a little about the Mediterranean diet. Less chicken, less red meat, more produce, maybe some fatty fish like salmon, sardine, herring, olive oil, not butter. Skip the cheese. Cheese is a killer food. Make you fat, raise your blood pressure, make you diabetic. Maybe a little red wine here and there, but don't overdo it. And obviously, no smoking with some fitness.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Should we be like when it comes to like the grains and lentils, all that? Should we be soaking and sprouting them? What's your take on that?
I don't think you need to. It's a nice add-on, but then we're making life complex. If you can do it, go for it. If you can buy a sprouted whole grain bread, go for it. But I don't in my house sprout every chickpea or every lentil or every quinoa little bud.
Makes sense. Yeah. So should we be avoiding meat, or is that like how does that affect heart health in a good way?
Well, there's three answers. Do you like harming animals or not? If you don't like harming animals, avoid meat. Do you like harming the environment? If you don't like harming the environment, avoid meat. It's much more water and environmentally destructive to raise meat. And if you like your health, eat a lot of plants with very little animal foods or none. I've been vegan 46 years. I mean, I'm turning 65. I'm in exceptionally good health, but you can't base that on one person. It just happens to be. I'm very grateful that I got a epiphany at age 18 to care a little bit about my diet. And I wasn't some kind of crazy man. I didn't even know that much about it. I just knew I wasn't eating cheeseburgers because I didn't grow up eating cheeseburgers. I didn't have a hippie household. I had a very normal household. But it's a gift if you start in your mid 20s and you start paying attention to eating healthy. Watch a documentary called The Game Changers movie on Netflix. Watch a series on Netflix called You Are What You Eat. Maybe go old school and watch a documentary called Forks Over Knives and figure some of this stuff out.
Very interesting. Yeah. So talked about a lot what to avoid. So let's talk about what to add in. Like I know we kind of talked about these things throughout, but like if we really want to like bolster our health, maybe in terms of like certain foods, like is there anything like that we talk about? We haven't talked about nitric oxide yet. Is there anything like improve that in terms of food or supplements? How does that work?
Um, Nitric oxide is a chemical that won the Nobel Prize in medicine in 1998. But if you eat salads and beets and watermelon and it's not going to be cheeseburgers and pepperoni pizza, you'll make enough nitric oxide, keep you sexy as hell. Just focus on being a sexy as hell person by eating a lot of produce. The biggest foods in the world for producing long, healthy lives are actually a little surprising. They're actually number one, legumes, beans, peas, lentils. This is from a giant Gates Foundation study. Beans, peas, lentils. Number two, they're whole grains. Go get yourself a great Ezekiel bread and use that. And number three, it's actually nuts and seeds. Just a little below are fruits and vegetables, but the big three are the three I just said.
Interesting. Yeah. I just want to say to people, like, just give these things a try. Like, if we're skeptical and we're not getting the results that we want in our lives, just be willing to try something different. Like, for what we're doing is not working, just try these things out
But
and
even
apply
if
it.
it's working, if you think it's working, it might not be working unless you get the blood work and some of the other stuff. I mean, obviously, if you feel good, that's a joy. But I have people that feel good all the time. Their lab work is just, stool.
Yeah.
You won't necessarily, maybe you got a little brain fog. That can be a clue. But you might feel okay and still you can optimize it, take it up quite a bit.
Absolutely. We talked about testing before, and I've seen you do some advanced testing, like on your website and your practice. Is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of that?
And not to the crowd you're speaking to. It's not really practical. Unless you've got some of your audience is 40, 45, there's that $75 coronary artery calcium CT scan. That's very easy to arrange if you get a doctor to do it. Now, when you're your age, you really want to stack your cards: sleep, fitness, stress, avoiding smoking, avoiding, insane amounts of cannabis and booze. You don't have to be perfect, but you want to be aware that, excess isn't a good idea.
Good
And,
stuff.
really concentrate on food and fitness and, uh, managing your weight. There's so much obesity.
Definitely, yeah. Is there something that, because a lot of people, they kind of have issues with habit implementation, I find. Like we know the stuff, but we are lacking that leverage point within ourselves to actually take action. With your patients, what do you find to help them take action to get the results that they want?
And the problem was what? I apologize again. I missed the one word.
A habit implementation.
Baby steps. I always tell my patients, inch by inch, it's a cinch, yard by yard, it's hard. Maybe don't do dairy for breakfast and conquer that. Figure out a way to use almond milk, soy milk. And then, next goal is I'm going to skip dairy for lunch and, figure out how to order something without cheese. We eat so much cheese, it's a killer food. And then do it for dinner. Okay, we conquered dairy. You might find your skin is healthier. You might find, your stomach's better. You're not gassy and bloated. You're more regular. Just eliminate it. Maybe it took you a month to get cheese out of your diet 99% of the time. Yeah, then you want to tackle fast food. Then you want to tackle, so, little baby steps, unless you got a serious health problem.
All right, yeah, this has been awesome. We talked about like the purpose of the heart. We talked about why people are having these issues, cholesterol, blood pressure, and things to avoid and things to add in. Is there anything else on your mind that you really want to get out to people in terms of heart health?
No, I think you really hit some good points there. You really did.
Awesome. Yeah. So I love this interview. I know people are going to get a lot out of it. And if people want to learn more about you and your work, where can they go for that?
Yeah, I am a busy doc and a busy blogger. So as I said, I've got online podcast, Hard Doc VIP, iTunes and Spotify. You're going out for a 25-minute run, learn with me. I change the topic every day. I'm proud of it. It's been out for 8 years. There's a lot of episodes, almost 400, I think.
Wow.
I'm on social media. I try and keep my messages short and sweet because I respect people's time. So, that's DRJKAHN on Instagram predominantly, but Facebook too. But nobody your age does Facebook anymore. I don't do TikTok. I'm not a big TikTok fan, so you'll miss me there. And let's see what else we got going on. I've written a bunch of books, but don't worry about them. I need to write a book about heart disease for young people. I really do need, I consider you a young person.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming more and more common, so it'd be probably a good idea. So,
Yeah.
all right, Dr. Kahn, I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Uh,
Thanks
all
for
right.
your flexibility. I know it took us a little time to hook up.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good day.
You too, sir.